Hello, BookTube, and welcome to Heinlein 2025. This is a joint project with several booktubers to read Robert Anson Heinlein, Robert A. Heinlein, who was a giant of mid-20th century science fiction. In fact, I was born in the very earliest days of the 1960s, and there were three giant names. And I read science fiction in the 60s and 70s when these three names were very dominant in the field. And that was Robert A. Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke. And I read plenty of both. But over the years, of course, I've moved into other stuff, and it's going to be a long time since I read Robert Heinlein. And I was talking to my friend Shawn Standfast, and we talk about vintage science fiction quite often. And we had the idea of maybe taking a year to read some of the Heinlein that maybe we couldn't remember quite as well. And so we're not going to read Stranger in a Strange Land, which is one of his landmark volumes. And some of his future history stuff we're not going to do. But we are going to do some of his juveniles and some of his other novels. And we're going to do it over a year. And let me just tell you who's involved here. So we have Shawn at the channel Shawn Standfast, who's already done an announcement video. We have Brandy at the Book Collectic. I just finished reading A Brother Cadfael along with her. We need to do a video about that pretty soon. Scott at Scott Danielson, who some of you remember I met up with him, Jason Harrigan, and Steve Donahue at the Brattle a couple months ago. So I finally got to meet Scott in person, and it was great. Matt at Science Fiction Reads. Ira at SF Worlds of Wonder. And then Randy Ray at Literate Texan. So we got a pretty good crowd. And I know Randy really likes Heinlein. I've heard him speak about that. So, yeah. So what are we going to read? So we're going to read in January Red Planet. And I'm going to show you some of the books I have here in a minute. February, The Menace from Earth. March, The Star Beast. April, Assignment in Eternity. May is Glory Road, so that's a little longer. Some of these first are shorter. That's a little longer. And then June is going to be The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which is a wonderful novel, but I haven't read in ages. And that's 300, almost 400 pages long. So those are the only two that are really long volumes as far as I can remember. July is Rocketship Galileo. August is Podkayne of Mars. September, Have Spacesuit Will Travel. October, Citizen of the Galaxy. November, The Puppet Masters. And December, The Door into Summer, which seems like a good choice for seems like a good choice for the middle of winter, right? So and then each month. Every person who does this, and all of you are welcome to join in. And if you want to get on the Voxer group or anything like that, get a hold of Shawn. We'll pick a short story or a novella on our own that we want to read without following the schedule and talk about it. Maybe, do a live if we get a chance to get a bunch of us together, and then when we do our videos each month or whatever month we choose, if you need to skip a month, it doesn't matter. You'd still be a part of it. And then see what each other has picked for a short story or a novella. Heinlein wrote in an era when you made your reputation in either the pulps and later the digest science fiction magazines with short stories, sometimes with serializations. And Heinlein was one of the first to break into the slicks, the expensive magazines. Can't remember if it was the Saturday Evening Post or something, but somebody could look that up. So I thought I'd go over a little bit of what I have in my collection. Now, I used to have all of these. I think I had everything he wrote at one time. And with moves and all this sort of stuff and changing reading tastes, I still have quite a few, but not in the editions I originally had, nor do I have everything. Luckily for me, like in February is The Menace from Earth. One of my coworkers, I think, has all the paperbacks, so I'll be able to borrow that. So, but you have plenty of time to get the novels that we're going to read. They're easy to find on eBay. I checked just to see, and so now this isn't the order we're reading things. This is just my random collection. So here I have an old paperback, and this is Citizen of the Galaxy, and you'll see there it says author of Stranger in a Strange Land. During the counterculture days, Stranger in a Strange Land was quite an influential book. So this is Citizen of the Galaxy, and then here's one we'll be reading at the end in December, and this is Dora in the Summer. A long time since I've read this. But when he awoke in the far different world of AD 2000. So don't forget, these things were written quite a while ago. When did this come out? This came out in the cover art's by Barclay Shaw. This came out in 1957. Copyright's 1956 by Fantasy House. So 2000 was a long way away. Almost as far behind us as it was. And this is the one that, of course, Stranger in a Strange Land. You hear somebody say, I grok you. That was one of the words which I find silly, but that came out of that whole thing. This one you might find interesting. You don't see it all over the place. This is Robert A. Heinlein, The Notebooks of Lazarus Long, illustrated or illuminated by D.F. Vassallo. So Lazarus Long is a unique and fascinating protagonist who appears in Heinlein's masterful science fiction series of future history stories and novels. He's the only human being who's been granted the ability to live for tens of thousands of years. And then you'll have these quotes, some of which are quite good. Some are reworking of other quotes by other people, made more pithy or whatever. I really love having this. Heinlein was very much what we would today call a libertarian in the United States. Individual freedom. Sometimes for what modern folks would think of as taken to an extreme, depending on your political viewpoint. But he's entertaining, and whether I agree with his politics, it doesn't really matter much to me. This is Job, A Comedy of Justice. I'm going to run out of room to show these. His next thing is a book I love. I've actually had it a couple times. I lost it the first time in a move or something. I was very happy to find it again. This is Robert A. Heinlein, edited by Virginia Heinlein, Grumbles from the Grave. That's a Michael Whalen cover there, I believe. I can check on that. Yeah. And there's Heinlein in a romanticized version of Heinlein. This thing is really the story of his writing career. There was a separate volume done on his travels. There's the great man himself. As a little research book, and it does have his travels in it too, but I can't remember what the other one's called. I remember it had like an Arctic or Antarctic journey he did in it. So here's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress and Farnham's Freehold. So there's little blocks about each of the books. Quite a wonderful book. If you can find it, I wish they'd do these for a lot of authors. This was a beautifully done thing. Let me get these out of the way, because these are actually sort of the meat of what I'm getting at, but I got a couple more to show first. I got 4 of these. I just found out there was another one of these ones I'm going to show you here in a minute that I'm missing. And then the one we're going to do, when are we going to do that? Let me look at my cheat sheet here. June, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which I remember loving. I remember really loving this book. Obviously didn't read it in this edition originally. And it's 382 pages, a little longer than some of the others we're going to be doing. And then to get to books that have more of what's on the list. These are all Science Fiction Book Club omnibus editions, which Science Fiction Book Club back in their heyday was great at this. And I wish I had kept more of them, because now a lot of them are quite collectible, and they weren't then. For the most part, people would want original editions and stuff, and now Science Fiction Book Club itself has become somewhat sought after. So this is Infinite Possibilities. All these look pretty similar. And this one has Tunnel in the Sky, Time for the Stars, and Citizens of the Galaxy. So each of those novels. This next one here is called Four Frontiers. And this one has Rocketship Galileo, Space Cadet, Red Planet, which is the first one we're going to read, and Farmer in the Sky. This next one is To the Stars. They have illustrations on the back. I probably should have been showing that. And this one has, I opened right up to New Mexico here. I think I need to get the list of books. Okay. Between Planets, The Rolling Stones, Starman Jones, and The Star Beast, which Star Beast is what we're reading in March. And then the last one of these I have is Outward Bound. There's the illustration on the back. And that has Have Spacesuit Will Travel, which we are reading in, where is that? September. Podkayne of Mars, which we are reading in August. And I don't think we're doing Starship Troopers. No, I think we missed that one. I think probably intentionally. It's a movie that gets mixed reviews, right? So that's sort of how I'll do that on each of these so you can get a look at it. I probably should find out who did the covers. Bruce Jensen. Probably a little hard to see. So you can tell by having these book club omnibuses, I actually save a bit of space on the shelf, because that's a lot of novels. I did find out there was another one that actually goes with that set that I didn't know about. So I'll have to track that down. So I've only got a few I don't believe I have copies of, and I'll borrow those from my friend. So yeah, it's Heinlein 2025. We're all going to try to hashtag Heinlein 2025 on our videos, so you have one playlist you can go to if you're interested. Let me know below. Not you know, you either like Heinlein or you don't. I'm interested in that. But how long since you've read him? I mean, he used to be just a colossus on the stage of science fiction. So, and I'm sure plenty of you have read him. So I'd be curious to see how big a gap in time has occurred, or if it's going to be your first time. So we got Christmas coming up, all sorts of holidays coming up. I'm trying to keep track of them all. We're doing getting things organized here for our kids, and school now is out, so they're at home, and it's cold. Fahrenheit, it's in the teens. Little bit of snow on the ground still. Not a lot. It's been spitting snow off and on all day, but it still looks pretty. So I like a white Christmas. But anyhow, we will get to reading in January. And as far as the novella and short story goes, if you get an older anthology, odds are you're going to find a Heinlein story. That should be easy enough. I actually look forward to that because some of those I haven't read in ages. So let me know if you're going to join in or what your thoughts are. And thank you, BookTube.